Well, I don't know about you, but these days, since we're doing all shopping online, it's getting really hard for me to figure out where to buy my products from. You know, all the products look the same to me on all the websites I go to, and I really just don't feel like digging into the small product details and the small difference in prices that I find. So you know what? I've really shifted to buying from the companies that I trust and where I know I'm going to get the best service and overall experience. And what about you, Lauren? How are you finding shopping online these days?
Well, I made that shift as well. I think I'm a regular customer. I buy what is quick and easy to order.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a good customer for PostNL. They earn a lot of money because I order a lot of packages. I'm the type of person that goes ordering when I'm bored. But I think especially in the past year, because of all the consumptions being online, the customer experience is even more important than ever. And you guys know that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really holds for the brands who are with us here today, of course. You know, we engage with these brands due to the trust we have in all of you and what you're going to deliver, the service you're going to give, the overall customer experience. So I'm really looking forward to talking to all our leaders here today on how you've reached that level with your customers and where you are in your transformation journey. But first, we're going to do an icebreaker.
Yeah, we're going to do a little icebreaker round. That's a round to get to know you a bit better, to dig up some fun facts that are not in your LinkedIn profile. Are you ready? Richard, I start with you. You are the COO at HEMA, right?
I am, yeah.
The well-known global retail chain, we all know it in Holland, of course, that quickly scaled up online selling last year. Okay, my question for you. What's the most random or unexpected thing you bought last year?
Well, it goes to working from home. So, like all of us, I suddenly found myself in this whole journey of home working. I looked at my home office, and the backdrop that was on most of my Zoom, Teams, or personal calls was shocking. So I actually went online and bought and commissioned a David Bowie portrait, which was painted by an artist in Spain. It arrived about 3 months ago. So now if you were to Zoom me or Teams me, I
see it in the back.
I have David Bowie looking over my shoulder.
Wow, that's cool. Thanks a lot.
That's my...
Thanks, that's cool.
All right, well, we have the next icebreaker question for Marcel. Marcel, you're the CIO at PostNL, and you won the CIO of the Year award in 2020. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I could ask you a lot about that, but I won't, because I'm going to go right to your icebreaker question. What's some of the best advice you've ever gotten?
I think if you look at the best advice, it's something I have read out of an old Chinese philosopher. And that says, if you want to be happy in life, you need something to do, you need something to love, and you need something to hope for. Yeah. And I try to have my life around that, but you can also put those same things into business life. So if you as a business have something to do and that you love your job, you have a vision. I have added financial stability and income to it. But if you have those 3 points gathered, then you have a lot of moments of happiness.
Yeah, it's beautiful, eh? I'm going to remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's simple, but it's very useful.
Yeah, and it's the truth in a
Good.
lot of ways. Yeah.
All right, well, we have one more icebreaker question.
Yeah, here it comes. First of all, Daniel, your company won a lot of awards. Over the years, including the most innovative company, the fastest growing company, and the retailer of the year.
Correct.
You feel proud?
That is definitely something what we are pretty happy about. But in essence, it's also a reflection on what we have done for the customers.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's also a prize for our customers.
Yeah. All right. My question. Are you scared?
A bit.
If you could teleport, where would you go and why?
Oh, that's an awesome question.
Yeah, but it's a difficult one.
So many cool places on Earth. But actually, I would go a little bit beyond Earth. I would go to Mars and send a message to Elon and say, hello, we are already here.
That's a good one.
Not bothering. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
It's also scary to be on Mars, no?
It's probably not the most cozy place, but it's definitely pretty cool to
And you
explore
won.
stuff.
You won. Exactly. Okay.
Good. Well, that was a really great way to get to know you a little bit better, a little more personally, because now we're going to dive into the actual content of the session. We're going to dig deeper into how you can best sell, service, and connect with your customers at scale. And we're going to ask you to share 3 things per question on your transformation journey.
Daniel, You deliver the best customer experience across industries. What 3 things do you have to keep in mind to design such customer experiences?
There are definitely more than 3 things that you should keep in mind. But probably the first one is that you can think of a nice product, but actually you will never come up with the perfect product yourself. So you need to co-create the product, the service together with customers. So therefore, when you're building a new product, a new service, you need to make a very first version and then together with customers, build the next iteration, get feedback from customers, include everything what you get back from customers. The second one is, customers are asking for a lot of features, but actually the real valuable feedback that you get from customers are the latent feedback or the emerging trends. So therefore, you should over-deliver on this kind of latent demand from customers. So what they are not even now asking, but what they most likely want to have in the future, and just deliver the basics of for the, let's say, the common commoditized features. And the third one is that customer experience is something that goes across your entire supply chain. It's not only the touch points in an app, it's not only touch point for delivery service at a door, but it's also the way how, for instance, something is fulfilled in a warehouse. Therefore, for us, customer experience is also the way how a product is picked in a warehouse. How fresh is the product? How quickly is it delivered to the customer from the warehouse to the doorstep of the customer?
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of people, more people ordered at Picnic. What did it do to you? Did you have like stress? Did you make like over hours of work? How did you?
It was certainly not an easy time because the problem or the challenge was from 2 sides. On the one hand, there was massively surge of demand from the consumer side. But on the other hand, the entire supply chain industry, the food production industry, was very much under stress. So more demand, less supply. So therefore, we had to find ways to actually build bigger buffers or more ways of actually mitigating the challenges from the supply side and fulfill still the entire demand.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what you said is interesting because I bet our other panelists have some similar experiences with the sudden peak and having to deal with, actually more demand than what you're used to, and how to deal with that. So maybe we can get to that. But I'm going to move over to the question from Marcel now. You chose Salesforce for consumer communication during one of the busiest times in PostNL history. What were your 3 takeaways from this change?
If you look into customer communication, where we also use the Salesforce platform for, then you see that ownership of data is one of the most important aspects in such a company as ours. As we have seen, is that real ownership of that data is crucial to have the best quality of data. So that was one of the major aspects in our transformation, to have that at the right people in our marketing and commercial departments. I think we have established that now, and now you see indeed also a speed in making the user experience better. I think the second thing what we have done is that if you look into user experience, is that out of the experience we deliver to our business customers, it can always be done better, in a better way, especially in the digital area. I think one of the major aspects of our user experience is, of course, the experience you have as a consumer, which you experience at the door. But if you look into digital interaction, we try to have also the best digital interaction which you can see in the marketplace. And to do that, you have to define real holistic teams with a lot of disciplines together in one team to make that user experience the best there is. And I think the third part we have done, we have started that already in 2013, is that if you want to be in omni-channel communication, and the channels are dispersing and coming very fast, but also disappearing very fast, then to have a real good split between content and how you deliver that content into the channels. So in 2013 we started that, and now we have a very solid split between content and representation in the channels, and it helps a lot to gain speed in delivering services towards the market.
Great. Because like Lauren said, we think PostNL is, reliable for delivering all of the many, many packages that we are ordering, and many that we're also sending back because we're over-ordering.
You as well.
I as well, especially clothes. But how do you want the consumer to see PostNL? Like we just described it in our way, but you're doing so much more than that.
Yeah, what we want really to achieve is that when you open the door, that you feel that you are enlightened, that PostNL rings at your door, so that you see us as the favorite deliverer of all the companies there are. And we try to embed it in all our being, not only, of course, with the deliverers, but also how we act on the street, how we sort, how we deal with digital interaction, at all those aspects, we want to be the favorite deliverer.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting because it's not just about receiving the package, but it's about how we receive that. Because again, I get like 3 per day usually, so I open that door, and that
That's
experience
really
is really important.
3 a day?
I have 2 teenage girls at home as well.
Okay.
So, so that's what happens.
Keep on the good work.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, shall we move on to Richard then?
Richard, speaking of demand, e-commerce has never been more valued than now in these times. Which 3 learnings can you share with us about agility when selling online?
Yeah, agility was really top of mind for us as the advent of Corona really started to kick in. And I think the first one's having the right partners. You know, PostNL, DHL, the carriers, absolutely critical. Salesforce Commerce Cloud, we needed reliability. And it's only at times when you see significant increase in velocity that you realize you have the right partners. And even we started to wholesale with Jumbo. We started to put HEMA into wider access for our consumers. We knew that we would have certain closures of certain stores, so we had to maximize distribution. So we were agile in that way in terms of really choosing partners and making sure we had the right ones. And that will continue, I think, evidently post-Corona. Secondly, prioritization. We really thought hard and long about where we wanted to focus, and we went after 1 or 2 things only. The biggest thing we went after was ship from store. How could we scale up our capacity and think outside of the box to really drive demand the fellow panelists talked about? So we actually increased our ship from store by 70% in a matter of weeks to build on the already good capacity we had in our e-commerce distribution center, but it became another advantage in terms of meeting the demand, which was quite unprecedented. And the last one is continue to invest. We had the challenges that a lot of companies faced, from the amount of revenue income that was coming into the company to managing the cost base. But we were determined to invest in e-commerce and determined to invest in our app, and it remained relentless.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, actually, as a follow-up. You're talking about the shift to more online and to sending the products to home. Of course, we all have this shift. Was that shift already present before COVID-19, or was that really a sudden shift you made because of where we've been the last year?
It was present before COVID. There was a definite, if you look at both click and collect and home delivery, their penetration was rising in both areas, but this just accelerated it beyond all measure.
Yeah.
So it was almost pulling forward business plans years.
Yeah, great. Now that we hear that more often, pulling forward business plans unexpectedly. So I can imagine if you're talking about stress, Lauren, asking everybody if they're stressed, that probably caused a bit of stress. Now on to the next question for Daniel. Okay, so good customer experience is more of a science than an art, especially for a company like Picnic, which is known to be smart with data. What are the 3 things every business should start today when it comes to using data to drive any customer interaction?
So customer service is indeed art, science, and data, and that's all together as a kind of a package. So the first thing what every company should start is start experimentation, because this is the only structural way to really learn what works for customers, what doesn't work for customers. And experimentation means very simple, that you have a service, you try out new things, but you don't try it with everybody, but you try it with a few customers, and a few customers get simply your previous service. And that allows you basically to very, very fast learn. So what we are doing is we are running every week 20, 30 experiments that help us to quickly evolve our service. But this is only the starting point. The second one is that you need to build a 360 view on your customers. So not only kind of a separate view on the touch point or the point of sale or the fulfillment point and the door point, but it's the entire view of the journey of the customer, and then also build journeys around those kind of 360 view of the customer. And the third one is democratize the data. And democratization of data means not only that everybody in the organization should have access to the data, but should also run experiments, run actions on those kind of data. And you will see that if you make data available around the entire organization, across the entire organization, then many people will come up with new ideas that you could have never come up with before from marketing or from tech, etc. So therefore, that is a real accelerator for everything what you do with data.
That's an interesting one, because in another episode, we talked for a while about empowering employees with data, so giving them the data so that they can make their own decisions based on it. But we had a little discussion about, can you trust the people after you give them the data? Can you trust them to make the right decisions? So I'm curious, when you talk about this as well, how much you empower the employees to make their own decisions if they're given the right data.
Well, first of all, if you democratize your data, you need to trust them, because you make data available and you hope that they will make the right decision. And not every decision will be right. But as long as you have a structural way of running experiments, documenting what did you learn, what did you expect, what did you learn, and then also looking back and make retrospectives to really see why did something work out or why did it not work out, then you can organizationally learn what data really helps, what is data for you as an organization.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
So, thanks a lot. My next question is for Marcel. Everything can go wrong. We all know that. The best well-laid plan can go wrong. What 3 risks should companies be aware of? Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, I think one of the, if you look into established companies, so our company is already existing for a long time. In established companies, you always have legacy systems, which are systems which already are there for a long time, and which also entail a lot of business ruling. And if you implement something new on customer experience part, you also have to break down something old. So you have to get rid of the old, but as long as the old is existing next to the new things, then you get conflicts. Okay. So you really should emphasize on taking out the old stuff, and especially with established companies. I think that's the first.
Why is that? Why does it give problems when the old is still there?
Yeah, because if you have the old and the new one next to each other, you don't know what intelligence is about customer experience.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So if you have 2 sets of ruling and they are not the same, then at one part you are delivered on Monday and the next day you are delivered on Tuesday, despite of what you... So you need to have one truth.
Yeah.
Did that happen with PostNL?
We try to take out the legacy as fast as we can, but we still have some legacy, but we are almost there.
Okay.
So, and if you look into the new way of working, then the new stuff is much more agile and you can generate a lot of more functionality in the same time as you did in the past. For example, 10 years ago, I think the speed was 10 times as low as that we have now. Yeah. So the speed of change has increased immense. The second thing is that what we say is, now in Dutch, alles hangt met alles samen, but in English it is everything ties together. If you take out something and you want to have a new system or a new kind of digital interaction, you will always touch upon a lot of other stuff. So it's not always as easy to make something happening in an instance. You always have to think about the complete consequences for your complete infrastructure. So with everything is tied together, you need to know the connections in your infrastructure and you know where to pull the string at the right moment, because if you pull the wrong string, then everything falls apart. Yeah. So take the right string. That's very important. And thirdly, if you want to be in the digital game, then you have to build some building blocks which are necessary for everyone. For example, you need a kind of an interfacing platform. If you want to do experiments, like Daniel said, if you want to do experiments, you need a kind of a discipline how you do that. Yeah. And if you want to build a discipline, that takes, in our case, sometimes a couple of years to have that really embedded in such a large organization. Yeah. So don't underestimate the time you need for digital transformation.
Yeah, but you don't always have that time. I can imagine, especially for PostNL, when Corona came, you didn't have any time, right?
No, but we already expected the digitalization of our supply chain already since 2014. So we are already since 2014, we are building up digital capabilities which can help us to make the digital transformation happening. And if you are smart enough, especially in the IT strategy of your company, then you are able to think 3 to 4 years ahead of the game.
Was the chaos very big in the beginning with PostNL when Corona came?
Well, the chaos was more about how do we work together in the Corona time. So how do we split the people in the right way from each other? How do we implement the 1.5 meter, especially in sorting centers and also with delivery? We have a really good disaster team who is being brought together when something happens. Yeah, I don't know what's the right. I think it's a business disaster team, disaster recovery team, and we implemented that already when the first virus came in Austria. So that's where we already started to think about what will happen if this hits the Netherlands, and it was a couple of weeks later. And then we were already preparing all this kind of stuff, and we are in a constantly ratio during 2020, but also now. We are in a constantly alerting ratio when measures of the government change. And we know also if a government ruling changes about COVID, then we know more or less the effect on the delivery.
Okay.
So when the lockdown is being released or being tightened up, then we know that we can expect 1 or 2 or 3 or 10% increase or decrease in certain kind of volumes.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to learn very fast.
Yeah.
And we use that, of course, we use for that all kind of data and algorithms.
What we just talked about was interesting also for our other guests in terms of thinking about the future, because when the lockdown is released, maybe things are going to come and go in terms of COVID or other variants, but you're probably already planning for what's the next wave going to look like, even if it's the lockdown is released. How is that going to affect Picnic and HEMA in terms of, like you talked about with PostNL? There's going to be some shift, I think, in your businesses.
I think that some shifts you have seen in 2020 are there to stay. So if you look into the behavior of people, how they order stuff from home, we think that will stay for part of it. I think also if you look into Picnic, I think there is something changed immensely in the food industry to deliver from home. I don't know if you can.
Definitely. So what we have seen is most retailers had an increase by 20, 30, 50%. We saw even kind of 3x, 5x, 10x more demand. So this was absolutely massive. Yeah. What we are now looking into is which of this kind of demand will stay online.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have seen actually in some cities where even half of the population is ordering online for food, which was beforehand only 5%. Yeah. So this is really massive. Not everybody will stay online, but there's definitely a significant amount of customers will stay online, also with ordering food. And then the question is, how can you convince those customers to actually continue to shop with you after it's possible again to go to the physical supermarket?
I think if you look into the integration of on and offline channels, that is immense. I think that happens a lot also with you.
Yes, absolutely. I think we've created new customer journeys in the last 2 months. If you think about click by appointment, ring your local store and pick up. So COVID's really pushing omni-channel into a very different dimension. We used to have just click and collect, home delivery and pick up in store. Now you've got click by appointment, 10-minute slots, 20-minute slots. So we're having to get a minimal viable proposition on that very quickly, and we're having to be very creative. You're exactly right. I think it's reinventing retail. It's not just now clicking a button and surfing or clicking a button to pick up in store near to your home. It's, do I want to go and browse for 10 minutes, research online, purchase offline? I think these new journeys are changing the game.
And it's still about the overall customer experience that you need to watch out for, even in the bad times or the good times. What is that experience going to be? Because like we said, we're going to shop at the places where we trust we're going to get the right service. We trust the product, but we want the right service and the right experience.
It's even more important maybe than the product itself.
I think it's great. I think it's interesting to hear about what you think is going to continue. Maybe things that you've done differently because of COVID, but that you're still going to continue afterwards. So as a business, actually for all of you, it's interesting to hear about the things you feel you're going to continue, which is also based, though, on what's the consumer going to continue, because we've all shifted what we're doing. What are we going to continue doing after? And how are your businesses going to be able to react to that? Do you already have plans for the, let's say, post-COVID time and how that's going to impact your businesses?
There's definitely, with this continued increased demand for food, we will certainly expand further our services, especially for food delivery. But one additional element, and we heard this already earlier, if more packages are sent, and we have recently started also a return service, so we take stuff back from customers to a merchant. For instance, you mentioned already the example, if you buy clothes that they typically also send stuff back again. That is something what is now for us becoming a very, very attractive new branch of our business. So therefore, that is also becoming a kind of a new stream of activities that we are pursuing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. How about the others?
Yeah, I think if you look into what happened in 2020 is that social distancing, of course, came into the place of how we deal with each other. I hope that will be reduced again to normal dimensions, and I hope that also brings something back into society, which we called more purpose-led thinking. And if you think about the way forwards, then I think purpose-led will be stronger because of COVID, because we have also experienced that social distancing is doing a lot with each other and is also polarizing a lot of discussions. And I think as a company, together with society and government, we need to find a new way to make it a little bit better.
Yeah. But I also think in the future we will be maybe working a lot more at home, like we do the hybride working probably.
Yeah.
So you go to the office 2 days and stay at home for 3 days. It will also do a lot with consumer demands, right?
But it also gives a complete new view on how we, for example, we handle traffic jams. And because we know now that there is a solution just by changing our behavior.
Yeah, there will be less traffic jams.
So we do not need more asphalt, but we need other behavior.
Yeah.
And I think that insight, omdenken, think really in a different way, that can help us a lot to make a lot of things better.
Yeah. What's the English word for omdenken?
Reversal thinking.
Yeah.
Give that one
Thinking
in mind.
upside down.
Good. Yeah. So it seems like a lot of the changes you've all had to make because of COVID, we're going to take the best things with us for the post period and be able to think differently than we did before and take that with us.
Right? Which is strange that we never thought of it ourselves, that you could also work 3 days at home and go 2 days to the office. There's nobody
It was
thought
not
about
possible.
it. No. It's strange, right?
No,
Now
but
it's normal, eh?
Now it's normal, but it never came in mind before.
But we only started to building dikes in Zeeland after it happened,
Yeah.
in the flood of 1953.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need something before people start to run.
Okay, well, good. Well, we are at the end of the question and answer session. I'm curious, what are your 3 main takeaways from this episode?
It's a lot. I wrote something down, but it's maybe 12.
You don't get 12, just a few.
Agility,
Yeah.
both in like thinking, but also like in investing in people, in investing like in money, in new things, old and new. Choose. And yeah, of course, David Bowie, I can't help it. I cannot get it out of my mind anymore.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I really love the part about co-creating with customers, because that's really what drives innovation, and I recognize that because that's what we try to do at Salesforce, is we talk about innovation, but you can't do that without your customers and co-creating with them. 360 view, of course, for our customer 360, that's a very important concept for Salesforce as well, and important for the customer that you have a customer 360 view. And I like to prioritize and focus. You know, if you don't prioritize, then you can't focus on something. And all of what we talked about that you need to do so fast and all the changes you need to make so quickly really requires the focus. So.
Yeah. So we agreed on like ending with 3 words. So I failed, and now you totally failed.
I totally failed, but you guys did a great job today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all
Thanks
of
a
your
lot.
valuable insights. And also thank you to all of you for watching. I hope that you can bring away some valuable insights from this episode, and stay tuned for more episodes.